All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about the high-stakes world of financial auditing, a field that is being totally transformed by AI. Now, on one hand, artificial intelligence promises this incredible revolution in speed and accuracy, but on the other, it's hiding some serious risks that could threaten the very trust it's supposed to build. So, let's unpack this double-edged sword.
First up, let's talk about the promise, because it is huge. Just imagine being able to slash the time it takes to do a really complex audit in half. Yeah, in half. Studies show AI could cut down the time auditors spend on all those routine checks by up to 50%. That is an absolute game changer.
And it's not just about being faster, right? It's about being better. AI tools have been shown to cut down on human errors in data analysis by a whopping 40%. Think about it. They can sift through these massive data sets, spotting weird patterns that a human auditor might just miss. So you see numbers like that, and it's easy to think, wow, maybe AI is the key to creating the perfect auditor. But is it really? Let's take a closer look at what this tech can actually do for speed, accuracy, and, genuine insight. So how in the world does AI pull this off? Well, it's all thanks to things like machine learning, which can look at past data to predict future problems, and robotic process automation, which takes care of all the boring, repetitive stuff. When you put them together, auditors can suddenly analyze all the data, not just little samples. They can spot red flags way easier, which totally boosts their ability to assess risk and sniff out fraud. It's kind of like giving them a financial superpower.
But every superpower has a weakness, and in this case, it's the ghost in the machine. See, while AI looks flawless from the outside, the way it makes decisions opens up a whole new can of worms. Really tricky ethical problems that are kind of hard to see at first.
To really get what I mean, let's look at a famous example from outside of auditing. Back in 2018, Amazon had to ditch this AI tool they built to screen job applicants. Why? Because it learned from a decade's worth of resumes that were mostly from men. So the AI taught itself to be biased and started penalizing resumes that included the word women's.
Okay, now let's pull that idea back into the world of auditing. This isn't just some HR problem. Research from Zhang and Vasarhelyi actually put a number on it, finding that biased AI could mess with as many as 30% of auditing decisions. This isn't a what-if scenario. It's a direct threat to the very fairness and accuracy that the entire profession is built on.
And that brings up a really unsettling question, doesn't it? If an AI can get something as important as hiring so fundamentally wrong, what happens when a biased algorithm gets a multi-billion-dollar financial audit wrong? The stakes are just astronomically higher.
So what's the solution here? Well, that brings us to our next big idea. We have to open the black box. The root of the problem is that we can't see inside these systems. To fix that, we've got to find ways to build trust in how they work.
You'll hear this term a lot, the black box problem. It basically means that with a lot of these AI systems, data goes in, an answer comes out, but what happens in the middle is a complete mystery. And for a profession that runs on trust and being able to explain your work, that's a huge problem. I mean, you can't trust what you can't understand.
To fight this black box issue, experts are creating things like the AI trust framework you see here. Think of it as a roadmap for building AI you can actually rely on. It's built on these key pillars like explainability, so we know why the AI made a certain decision, plus transparency and accountability. It's all designed to make sure we can trust the output and know who's responsible if things go wrong. So what does this all mean for the future of auditing? Well, the good news is this isn't a story about robots taking over jobs. It's actually about creating a powerful new partnership, what we call putting humanity in the loop. It's about augmenting human expertise, not replacing it.
In this human-in-the-loop model, you can see how it works. The AI does the heavy lifting, crunching all the numbers and finding patterns, but the human auditor is still right there in the center of it all. They train the AI, they double-check its work, and they apply that critical human judgment that a machine just doesn't have.
And the best part about this partnership? It's that it frees up human auditors from getting buried in all the tedious, repetitive work. It lets them focus their brain power where it really counts, on making complex judgments, on thinking strategically, and on ethical oversight. It basically elevates their job to a whole new level.
And get this, the numbers totally back it up. This collaboration doesn't just make things more efficient, it actually sparks innovation. Studies have found that audit teams that are beefed up with AI are 35% more likely to come up with creative solutions to really tough problems, like finding new, tricky types of financial fraud.
Okay, so how do we pull all of this together and actually build this trusted future? It really comes down to finding that sweet spot between innovation and integrity. And lucky for us, the path to get there is becoming pretty clear. It really boils down to a three-step plan.
First, companies have to officially adopt ethical frameworks to guide how they build and use AI. Second, the rulemakers, the regulators, they need to play catch-up and update the standards for these new challenges. And third, and this is crucial, we have to make sure there's always meaningful human oversight baked right into the system. And that second point on regulation, it's incredibly urgent. One study showed that our current rules are so far behind the tech that they might not even cover up to 45% of the AI tools being used in auditing today. That is a massive gap, and it leaves the door wide open for all kinds of risks.
Which leaves us with one final, very important question to chew on. As we start to hand over more and more of this work to artificial intelligence, as AI becomes the auditor of our financial world, who's going to audit the AI? In other words, who's checking the checker?